cluster development located at 687 Hard Road. Applicant Insight Land Development is requesting preliminary final site plan and subdivision approval to subdivide a 4.8 acre parcel into 9 single-family lots, including 1 existing residence located in R3 single-family residential district under the Code of Town of Webster.
Thanks. I don't think it's very matter.
Go ahead, Rudy. Thank you again. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the board, for your time this evening. My name is Rudy Neufeld. I work with Crosstown Construction. With me this evening is Martin Yanda from PME Engineering to deal with your technical issues. Let me give you a brief overview of our project. We're here this evening requesting preliminary final approval for the Hard Road subdivision, 4.8 acres. It will be 9 lots, and we're making an application under the cluster provisions of Town Code 92-27. The 9-lot density is established on a conventional plan. The property is located on the corner of Hard Road, about 600 feet south of Klem Road. Lot 1, which was an existing property that was remodeled, renovated, and has been sold, is waiting to close. That will utilize the existing driveway off Hard Road. Lots 2 through 9 will have driveways on a proposed private drive that will be mandated and maintained by a private HOA. The utilities for the project will be connecting to existing gravity sewer, which is on Hard Road, and the water main is also located on Hard Road. Both utilities happen to be on our side of the road, making the connection comfortable and easy to do. The utilities will also have a doghouse manhole connecting it. Won't get into those technical details. Stormwater drainage will be controlled by a very typical proposed stormwater management pond. It will be discharging at a rated flow into an existing unnamed tributary. There's a small creek, not a named tributary, and the site drainage conditions will flow into that through stormwater management. Again, I won't give you all the details, but the following lot standards are under the proposed clustering provision, and I can answer any of those questions if that comes up as the questions arise. Following benefits of doing a cluster development for this extremely beautiful piece of wooded property: it will reduce our disturbance to the tributary, shortening driveways, making a smaller culvert, being that the private drive is much narrower than a conventional road. It will allow us to maintain as many trees as possible. We know that's not a requirement of the development here, but we happen to enjoy nature. We put a lot of time and money into our entrances and preserve every possible tree that we can. From a development standpoint, it's much less expensive to get rid of all of the trees on the property, and you can see that nicely demonstrated by different developers. By clearing the property, it's quicker, easier, and cheaper. However, this is a beautiful piece, and we will make every effort, and we will add expense to the project, but we'll try to maintain every tree possible. And one of the things that the cluster development allows us to do is pull the properties closer to the road and reserve almost an acre of that woods that can stay as such. And the question is, well, what if neighbors that buy destroy it? They won't be able to. The HOA will very clearly mandate how the road, the entrance, and the saved woods will be preserved. And lastly, it will allow us to have less impervious surfaces, which will reduce the water flow to the unnamed tributary. Those are my overview details. If you have technical questions, I'll try to answer them, or Mr. Yonder will do so.
Any concerns or issues or questions?
There was a bunch of comments from PRC, and they addressed that. Again, why don't we do this again? Why don't we open this? Obviously, a bunch of neighbors. We'll open it. If someone wants to speak again, we'll ask you to just go up, give us your name and address, and just keep it to a few minutes. That's all. Just whatever your issues.
name is Pat Medina, and I live on 677 Hard Road, which is right next to 687. So the most affected is basically me, because the road is gonna go right in between the two houses. And as I mentioned to Rudy, I don't know if the person in charge has done analysis on the water flow. There is that creek. I live there, so I know how it behaves. There is this
It's on the board here too.
okay, okay. But,
Yeah, you okay?
well, I can point it out. So
Yeah, that's
basically,
better.
so basically you know what I'm talking about. So as you call it, the unnamed, so the creek is, so my house is right here, and basically it's gonna be the two first houses right there, and the road is gonna go right in between. The creek that I'm talking about right now, which spring is coming, when it rains, basically that creek runs on full capacity that the circumference of whatever you want to call it, which goes across the street, cannot handle. And sometimes it overflows in my property. Also, there is an existing structure, whatever you want to call it, the duct, where the water is coming from. It cannot handle that capacity. So I wonder if you did some studies in there to increase the size of the pipes, or how you're gonna do it, because it's full on through the pipes, and also it overflows on top of it. So,
Is that, excuse me, that's before your property? It would be to the west of
so
it?
basically, my property is here,
Yeah, yeah.
and exactly where they're gonna put the road, I'm assuming the road is gonna be constructed from the property line of 687 all the way to the end of the property line of 687. So 687, 677, the creek, so basically here is the water that flows in here, and right here, it runs to full capacity. That I'm always, when it rains, I'm always cleaning up the debris that is trying to go across to the other side. So that you should take into consideration. And like I say, this unnamed waterway is an old structure. So I don't know if you have analyzed that, but I live there and I know how it behaves. The other thing that I mentioned to you, I'm a green guy. So the trees that are on my property, please keep it. Unless you're gonna tear it down and plant new trees. Because one thing that I see, those are pine trees, old trees, right? The trees are here. There are other trees in here, but I'm just gonna, why do I mention that? Because I'm gonna point to an example. Those are trees, when there is a lot of wind, guess what? And I don't know what you're gonna do in this part, but it could fall if, how you're gonna do the construction of the road or what, but you're disturbing that. So just keep that in mind. And keep that in mind, the water, that it overflows into my property. Just that.
So it looks like the water comes from, it crosses like from the east side of Hard Road, goes under Hard Road,
Yes.
and then under Hard Road, and then by his property, and then across onto where the roadway's going.
The other way.
So, okay, so he's saying, he's saying it backs up, so is there a restriction, is it?
I can address that. So there is on top of
Take the microphone.
culvert under Hart Road, which is 36 inch, and the water actually flows in this direction. There's also just within the property, 15-inch culvert, substandard culvert.
Mm.
And that's what's happening, that 15-inch cannot handle it, right? So the water flows over. That 15-inch will be removed and the channel will be reestablished. We've been working with town engineer on drainage, and we were asked to check the sizes of the culverts upstream. There's a 36-inch culvert just upstream on the trail. There's 36-inch under Hart Road, as I mentioned. And our pipe is actually 42-inch. It's larger than both culverts. So it should pass the water without any
So
issues.
then that should actually help you increase the size of the pipe. Then it's flowing through, it isn't going to overflow, it's gonna run through better.
Yeah, yes, but the capacity when it rains, the size which crosses to the other side of Hard Road, sometimes it cannot handle. Did he say that they're gonna they have to replace and put a bigger, whatever you wanna call it?
With the way he's describing it, on the site, you're saying there's some 15-inch pipes, and the pipe that goes underneath Hard Road is
It's
20,
30
30 inches.
inches, pretty good size pipe.
And what the neighbor is saying is that that pipe under Hard Road is submerged. Its inlet capacity is not enough to bring in the flow coming in it right now. And in some respects, you have the potential of, take those 15-inch pipes and make them bigger to allow more water to come down, pile up at the culvert field underneath our road. Potentially even adding more water onto the neighbor's parcel.
Okay, so then that, with the detention ponds proposed in there, that should take that water that's coming down onto the site toward him, it should slow it down then right there.
Well, do the detention ponds just handle the site drainage, or is it going to bring the?
It's like
It handles the entire site, or majority of the site, and it reduces the flow.
Will it
With that
handle-
15-inch pipe, that pipe has almost no cover, so it doesn't really back up water at this time. The water just flows over it, over land. You know, it's actually also partially plugged, so it's not working basically. So the creek just flows over towards that 36-inch culvert at Hart
But
Road.
your detention pond is sized for the site, it's not sized.
That's
It's
correct.
any kind of remediation of off-site drainage coming on the site.
It's just for
That's
our
what it
site.
stays.
And it looks like the water that's on your site going to the stream is, where's it going? Let's see what's going to the south of that, or to the western. And primarily that water is all coming from that site.
Yeah, right now, the water is just coming in however it wants to come into the creek. We're gonna throttle everything that comes out of our site into our pond, but to Pat's question, what's happening now, and I'm not the engineer by any means, but the little 15-inch pipe fills up. It's a fairly flat area, and it's full of wood and sticks and all the things that a wood creates. That water comes over that little pipe and goes, now sheet drains across, picks up sticks and weeds and grass and all the junk that helps to clog up the 36-inch pipe. So I'm quite confident when that's cleaned up and the debris is gone, that water will flow much smoother and stop ponding onto his property.
Ruben, and remember one thing, the road that you're going to create, it goes right through the creek. You have analyzed that, right?
Yep, and that will have its properly sized pipe.
Yeah, they'll have the pipe. All right. Is there anyone else wishing to? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm April Schmunzer Bennett, 941 Plum Road. My house actually backs up to the site. My home is right here. My
What was your last name?
backyard,
What was your last name?
Schwenzer Bennett, SCHWENZER Bennett, 2 N's, 2 T's. Okay, my backyard right here backs up to where they're going to be putting land in. My backyard right now is a pond. The entire backyard, I have about 1/3 of my backyard is flooded at this point. This entire area, I have a very active 11-year-old boy who has, since the 5 years that we've lived there, explored these woods very extensively with my husband. This whole area is wet, very, very wet. Have you done any perk tests in that area? What have you come up with?
Well, why is it, let's do this.
Okay, all right.
Ask your questions and then let them answer.
My problem is when they raise this, because they're going to have to raise this, because it's not going to perk properly. Once they raise this, all the water is going to drain. My neighbor's yard right now is underwater. My neighbor on the other side of the yard is constantly wet. I cannot mow my yard, a good quarter of it, until late June, early July. And that's in the middle of the yard. The back area, I have a back area back here where I can't get till June or July. The problem that I have, you have a retaining pond over here, where that road is, which you're going to have to build up to get so it's not underwater, is going to all pond into all of our land here. And we're all going to be all underwater. Has a wetland study been done? Because this area is all backs up to the Hodiak Trail here. This is all wet. My husband can attest to that, but I will have him speak to that. I don't think that you're going to have to build this up quite a lot. So actually, and the fact that you actually already have retaining ponds going in here, this creek drains all this stuff into this poor man's backyard here. So I don't know what you guys are planning and what you guys are going to be doing about that. I'll turn it over to you guys to answer some of my questions.
Okay, thanks.
Chairman, so basically, all the neighbors' backyards are wet.
Well, let's let him
Okay,
explain
yes.
now.
As far as these backyards, the drainage moves very slow through these backyards towards the creek. Some of the drainage, and not much, goes actually overland. What we'll do with construction of the road, we'll put a swale along the road, which will drain whatever comes on our property to the creek. That way we'll capture that and take it to the creek. What's within our site, as we mentioned before, will be taken to stormwater management pond, and it will go through control structure. Actually, it's a 3-inch orifice opening, which will reduce greatly the flow to the creek. As far as wetlands, we looked at it. There's some further along the creek in the lower area. We are aware of that the groundwater, we did some test bits, is at about 4.5 to 6 feet. And we have to take that into account. There was some, and for the time of the year we did the test bits not that long ago, everything is pretty wet. We have to take that into account. There was some slight seepage, mineral deposits, so we are positioning the basements above that groundwater.
So you're going to have to raise up the land to get it on there, correct?
The houses will be about, and correct me if I'm wrong, about 3 feet, 2 to 3 feet above the ground.
Are you grading those houses back to the retaining pond, or is it going to be graded flat so the water can go everywhere, including our backyards?
All of it is sloped in this direction and goes to stormwater management pond. Nothing is crossing that driveway back.
It sounds like if anything, the water from your yards is gonna be taken care of when they actually clear out that swale that runs along the roadway.
How big of a swell creek is that?
All right,
gonna
wait a
be?
minute, this is, if you wanna talk, come up and ask your questions and
Can you
then,
hear me?
we'll address it, but I think he's covering it for you.
So how big will that swell be? Is it like gonna be a small little tiny creek that'll kind of go through here, or what? What's the situation going on there?
There is about 10-foot wide area which will be graded into swale, so I think it will be very defined, perhaps 18 inches deep swale.
Okay, and I do have another question. So, this goes from,
Can you talk in the microphone, please?
this goes from woods to me looking into a road. Are you gonna make any, consideration for putting any foliage there so that I'm not looking at a road behind my yard? When I purchased that land, it was for the land, now I got a road going back there.
That's the time to buy the land.
Are you gonna be putting any,
Hey, ghost, folks, sorry.
putting any drainage there between our land and the road?
You're gonna have a swale there, I don't think you're gonna have enough room to put any, you wanna get rid of the water, or you want trees?
I want land behind me, it's what I don't want houses back there.
No, I kind of figured that. You can understand that, that's normal, everybody feels that way. But the property is there, it's available for sale. Somebody buys it, they have the right to develop it, as long as they're conforming, we can't stop them and say you can't build there. So, let's move on from there.
That does answer the question. Have the swale property functioning, we really can't put trees in there. But this is a two-edged sword, but I will bring this to the public hearing. We always invite our neighbors to a private meeting, which we had Monday evening. It's not mandatory, it's not required, but we do it as a general practice. Now, 3 people did come, and I do that as a courtesy because we're going to be neighbors for a while. And I did offer, I don't look at, I guess there's a low point between Dave's and Pat's place. I would have to have the town engineer okay this and our engineers, but if it's feasible for our elevations to bring a pipe under my road or somehow work with that swale to get a low point to your property. Now, we can't go on your property.
If we give you permission, can you?
Well, you'd still have to hire somebody else to do it. But what I'm saying is if it's possible for us to make a provision for either a pipe or a proper swale, that might then require minor grading on the part of my neighbors, but we'd accept that water if the town says it's okay and it's doable, we would look at that. And that would potentially cure your problem. Our responsibility is not to cure your problem, but if in any way I can make a provision to do it, I am happy to do that. And I told Pat and Dave that I would be happy to do that as well.
All right, anyone else?
You always come up with, have you submitted drainage calculations to the town? And in that report, does it have what the capacity is of that pipe going underneath our road? Because I'm hearing a very consistent story that that pipe is surcharged. The one that's going under. Now, the gentleman who lives next door made it very clear that it's the pipe going underneath Hard Road that surcharges. That it does not have that capacity. So regardless of what you do for drainage improvements on the site, if it's not going to pass under Hard Road, it's still not going to pass under it. And you could create a situation where you're going to cause more flooding in his backyard by directing all that drainage. And I'm not hearing that that has been addressed anywhere. That we are reducing flow through that culvert underneath our road. It's nice that you're putting the pipe upstream that's bigger, but that doesn't make the pipe downstream work better. It allows more flow to that pipe downstream. You're taking away the restriction that, if anything, prevents further surcharging. So I'm not hearing that that's been addressed anyplace. Again, it is something the town engineering has to review and comment. But at this point, it doesn't make sense to me that if this thing is being surcharged that you're doing anything to make the flow off of the site under Hard Road any better.
Sure, go ahead.
So what I heard is that 36 inch is flowing full sometimes, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Our pond will collect.
No, what's wrong with it is, he's saying that it's flowing full, it's surcharges, it causes ponding back there. It is acting as an outlet for effectively a large detention pond.
So is your yard below that pipe?
So basically, how they build the house, they build it high, so there is a slope where the creek is. So it overflows to some of the yard. And when I say it's going full capacity, I mean full capacity. You cannot put 2,000 fish to a bottleneck.
So he is seeing a bottleneck in that pipe just going underneath the road.
So it's
So all of your improvements are not helping that flow on the road.
So our development goes to our pond, so what we are trying to do is to reduce that flow from the development to the creek, where it combines and then it goes to that 36-inch culvert.
So my question is how engineering is,
The-
while you are showing the traditional design of detention pond to reduce the amount of flow, there's regional drainage problems in this area. And then while the flow is still going through there, there's still no surcharges everywhere. Your pond, however it is, it's going to outlet, these things will still overflow going by the, where it goes on.
So if there is,
36 and then a 12 under the road
Yeah,
drains.
because of the road, because of the outside drainage that's coming through this particular site. You're choking just a little spot, but the entire area still has all the drainage. You know this very well.
sure,
You have an entire regional drainage area going through this spot to that culvert, under that road. And you're taking a couple acres out of it, several, who knows however, 50, 100-acre drainage area. And you're restricting the flow to a very small percentage of that area, still going to that stream.
sure.
Have the calculations been made to demonstrate that culvert capacity right now, which has been observed as being surcharged, will no longer be surcharged by this development? If it's not, then it's not gonna help anything in drainage in the area. When it's done, everyone's backyards are still gonna be flooded, particularly to the north.
So we've discussed this with PRC. We were asked to look at the upstream culvert and see what's restricting the flow.
Yeah, but that's upstream.
Yes,
This
I
is the stream
understand,
Culvert
but
downstream.
that also reduces the flow, right? We were not aware of ponding, at the Hartford 36-inch culvert. Nobody mentioned that. I didn't see any signs when we walked the site. So,
It sounds, to me, it sounds like a very legitimate concern.
we can look at it, maybe that yard or portion of that yard is very low, right? So, it seems like the issues with 36-inch Hartford culvert, right?
Excuse me. I'm sorry.
I recommend this, but, the table is saying, until you have a good drainage study that, with the town, I know where we're going with it, but I don't know where the amount of water is coming down.
Want to hear the rest of the comments?
What's that?
We got your question.
Don't you want to listen to the comments from the Webster?
Yeah, we can do that, I'm just saying that, I think we'll end up just tabling this. No, what we'll do is get more information.
No, that's fine, I agree with you.
Let everybody speak and, and get as much information as you can, but I think the ultimate thing, we don't make a decision. Okay, so, if there's anyone else wishes to speak, or, oh, he's up there, I didn't see it, sorry.
I am Charles David Schumacher. I live in the area that we're talking about here, and I knew the inhabitants of that property when they moved there back in the 40s. They lived in the city, and they used the house that was remodeled as their cottage. And my wife and I and our children to be doing it very well. We migrated to Webster in June of 1960, and we had 2 children, an infant and a 1-year-old. And our children all grew up in Webster on 709 Hard Road. And we've been happy residents all these years. And what made our residents and our living there very interesting is that the old Jack line was running at the time. And of course that changed in the early 70s. I began working in Webster as a teacher and worked there for 34 years, thereabouts. And my wife and I have been married a long time, and we like each other. And
That's a good thing.
it can be unusual though, but it isn't here. But anyway, I built a house, and we have been in that house now 55 plus years. And the thing is, though, as time flies and moves on, things happen. In fact, my son is retiring this year. He works for Samsung down in Austin, Texas. But we're outdoors type people. And my wife and I have done many interesting things.
I appreciate all the history lesson, it's very interesting, but then we sit and have a cup of coffee with us.
Okay,
But right now.
it is
it's getting late, so let's
connected.
get to it.
It is connected.
Okay, I hope so.
Now, the connection is this property is a wealth of wildlife. Okay? Is that okay? Is that the
Oh,
connection?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good.
Now we're getting there.
Okay, I'll get in there.
Okay.
Be patient. I walk my dog every day on the trail. And it's a big dog. And we see many interesting things. There are fox. Today there's 1 million robins on the trail. A lot of fowl and so forth. Now, is there a prediction? And they live in this woods that you're talking about. It is a very beautiful wood. And it is a real asset to the community and to many people, children, older adults, all kinds. The whole ranch, the whole, you know what I'm talking about. So, what's going to happen when this community springs up there and road? Are they going to continue to be there when this community arrives? And I'm concerned about that. You know, we do things with our property and so forth that, and they're needed, you know. But it seems to me that there are a lot of what.
Use that microphone, I can property, and you're too far away from that mic.
There's a lot of property in Webster.
You can hear me? There's a lot of property in Webster, but do we have to erect a sanctuary for these animals, that people, all of the surrounding area hike on the project? Are any of you folks hike on the project? Okay, one. How about here? Okay? Well, it's a real asset to our community. And if you haven't, you're missing something great. And I suggest that you do it sometime because it's just a wonderful piece of property and an adventure. But I'm concerned that when you put the society and all the things that we need, the green lawns and fertilizer and this and that the other thing, and there are a multitude of deer in that woods. And so I'm wondering what is going to happen to that asset when we invaded with
How many years has that piece of land been?
Excuse me?
How many years, are you aware of how many years that land's been available, or what the owners were? I
In
mean,
a fairly recent past.
they obviously had it for
It's a
sale.
really recent past that it changed to this.
Yeah, so somebody sold it, correct?
Uh,
Whoever owned it sold it.
Several times.
Okay.
And so,
So someone's bought it, and then someone else has bought it, and now a developer bought it. So I guess my question to you, if you were sitting up here, and I was saying what you're saying, what would you do? What do you
Well-
propose we do with it?
now, I'm wondering this, does Webster, powers that be, do they see that need for this kind of environment to be protected? There's plenty of places to build houses and make money.
Can I add something here? This is my father. My name is Tanya Polano, 699 Hard Road. Lived on Hard Road for 57 years. You made me very angry a few minutes ago when you said that land was purchased and is available for development. Why does every spare inch of land in this town available for development?
Because,
Last I knew, we didn't live in Greece or
yeah,
Henrietta,
I'll make this
but
a
it's
long,
sure as hell.
I'm not gonna make this a long story, I'm gonna give you a little analogy here, okay? We have farms in town here. My wife was a Klem. She was here before the freaking ground was here. Okay?
I respect
So I
that.
dealt with this stuff every time I used to come home from a planning board meeting. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? It took her a long, long time to accept the fact that if you've got a piece of land and a farmer owns it, and he's 75 years old, and he's deciding to trade in and quit. He didn't work at Xerox, he didn't work at Kodak, he didn't work at Bausch and Lomb. He didn't get his big pensions and big pays. That piece of land was his income, right there, that piece of land. Now he's gonna retire. Mom and Dad are gonna buy a mobile trailer and go travel the country. That is their pension. That is their income. They worked their life for that. Now,
That's not what happened
hold
with
on,
this
let
piece
me
of property.
finish. Let me finish. See, you're not listening. You're jumping in.
I'm listening.
So now they own that piece of property, they sell it. A developer buys it. Do we like that personally? No. I'd like to see it stay woods. Unfortunately, the law says it's developable land.
So you're
So
saying that
we have to act by what the law says.
and you're saying that the town of Webster has no concern whatsoever about preserving.
The town
You're
does.
telling me because
Sure.
there hasn't been
The town
enough
has-
development in this town?
Let me, hold on. The town of Webster has more open space land than any town in Monroe County.
Not Hard Road. Have you been down Hard Road lately?
Now I give up.
They should stay for the next
You know what Hard Road was like when we moved here?
She's not listening.
Things change, things change.
Yes,
She's
it's the
not
one thing
listening.
between
You don't know that.
change, you're talking about, there's plenty of beautiful space in Webster.
And that's one
But
of
Hard
them.
Road
And that's
is
one
a
of them.
freaking circus.
And that's one of them.
Hard Road does not need to be developed. You'll never convince me that Hard Road needs any more development.
We can't stop
We-
it, we
we've
can't
seen
stop it.
You're the board, why can't you?
Come in.
Okay, hold on,
We've
folks.
seen
Hold on.
the school bus
Hold
drivers
on,
come in.
stop. We're done. We're done. We're not gonna continue this conversation.
So I don't
It's
have
going nowhere.
a say.
Thank you. Did you have any more comments?
Does anybody agree with me that Hard Road
Hold
is
on, you're not
developable?
talking to the audience. I'm sorry, ma'am.
Thank you. I need to know what everybody's saying.
Hi, I'm Maureen Wilbur. I live at 642 Kalon Circle.
Hi.
I appreciate what they're saying because I look at all those beautiful animals every every day.
And we do too.
I know, and so the only thing I'm asking is I appreciate meeting with Mr. Anderson, who's gonna make sure the water problem is gonna get any worse. My backyard currently doesn't have water in it, but the 2 empty lots behind me are flooded constantly. And the water's just starting to come to my house. Every year it gets worse. They can't mow it. I look at long, ugly grass. And now that the woods are gonna be gone, I'm just hoping that, you'll try to make sure that that doesn't get worse. And I appreciate, you commenting and really saying that the due diligence wasn't done. And the animals, they'll find another nice spot.
Well, I know that.
Appreciate your
But I
comments,
also-
and you're right, and that's why I'm saying, it's still an open meeting, obviously. And what we'll do is we'll end up with like tabling this, and give them a chance to work to get this finalized to where everybody's
I have one more, so my backyard, I'm seeing on the map that those houses will kind of face, our lots, and it doesn't look like there's gonna be a buffer, so I guess I'll be able
I didn't hear you,
to,
it doesn't look like what?
there'll be any kind of a buffer, no trees left. I think the acre they were talking about is on the other side.
People want to speak. Okay, I'm leaving because
I'm thinking that I'll kind of be able to see that road.
The stormwater pond does take up the first few
Okay.
That juts out, that's pretty good.
Okay.
size.
Okay, thank you.
he's coming.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is there anyone else wishing to speak?
My name is Chris Corbett. I'm basically representing my mother's house, which is at 695 Hard Road, which is, before I yell that, the one that's just below this line. Dave over there that's concerned about all this property has basically purchased all of this, including what my dad owned, to keep this all natural, all right? We bought that house because it was all natural. I didn't have to look at any of these. It may be an opinion, all right, but what's gonna happen to the value of my mother's house? We gotta sell that. What's gonna happen to what we thought we were purchasing when we bought it? You guys don't care because you're getting more
Well,
revenue?
did you buy this piece also?
Did I buy what?
Did they sell?
We bought all the way back to here.
Okay,
We have same bacon strip that they have.
yeah.
I'm not a developer.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying, I understand what you're saying, I just didn't know if that was purchased from your parents or something, or that's nothing to do with your folks, right?
No, that has everything to do with my folks. My
That
folks
was a
own that
separate
property
piece.
line.
Okay,
They
so that-
approached us, we wouldn't sell.
Huh?
Dave won't sell, because I'm sure what they would really like to have is all of that, right? You know what? What happens to protect our investments now that we can't sell a house that has scenic views? What happens to that?
You know,
We
there's
don't
an-
matter anymore?
There's an old saying, that if you buy property with a view, make sure you buy the view, right?
Oh, we did, we did, and now you're encroaching on what we have purchased.
This stuff gets me after a while.
So it's opinion over revenue? Is that what's,
So what would you suggest we do? Let's get to the point. I mean, you know you don't.
you know what?
You want us to tell them? you're not-
These people up here, and all these people out here, we all have water issues. Great. How about you fix that? These people here don't want to look at everybody's houses anymore. They have bought their houses because they were landlocked in this grid with woods. That was the appeal of moving to Webster
But you
and
didn't
buying
own the
that property.
See, that's the problem.
We didn't buy what property?
That piece.
No, they bought that
That's right.
amongst themselves.
And
The
now
house
they're
that they
developing
purchased
it.
was through foreclosure for years.
And now,
My father tried to buy that house, couldn't get it out of the foreclosure loopholes. Don't know what they did, but now they own it and now they can develop it.
that's correct. Unfortunate.
So our opinions as Webster citizens does not hold any account.
It's not
And
your
it's
opinion.
diminishing the value of my house.
It's the law. You're twisting this whole thing.
I'm not twisting it. You think somebody's gonna wanna buy a house with a frickin' postage stamp house in its backyard? I don't, because you know what? I'm looking for a house with land. But now you're telling me if I buy that house with land, You're telling me that at any point, my neighbor can come over and just develop the hell out of it.
That's correct. That's why I said that.
It does not seem
Buy
right.
a place
All right,
with a
what
view,
are
buy a
these
view.
houses, what are the specs of the houses? Are they comparable to the neighborhood?
Be in the $300,000 to $400,000 range.
Okay. What size are they? What are the lots?
The lots, wait, hold on. The houses will have to meet the requirements of what, you're talking to the board, you don't talk to the developer, okay? The sizes of the houses will have to conform to what the town code calls for, period.
Okay, the very first clause of the town Webster zoning regulations states that site and building designs are expected to have cohesive, appealing, standalone design qualities,
Yes,
as well as having design scale and continuity that allows them to complement and enhance better design traditions for the surrounding neighborhood.
well, good, you read that good.
I did.
You read it
Yeah,
good.
I'm pretty
But that's what
smart.
it is, and that's what it'll be.
Okay, the proposed development seeks to include 9 buildable lots that in no way are similar to surrounding properties. There's not 9 houses down my driveway. There's not 9 houses down Dave's driveway. There's not 9 houses down her driveway. So how are these similar to the neighborhood? We spent extra money to buy the land, not have it diminished. That's the point I'm trying to make. These houses are nothing like the surrounding community. The drainage problem, sure, fix it at your site. Great. You know what? Most of that water backs up right in their property.
Excuse me.
There's a bridge.
Excuse me.
Hang on.
Hold on, you're getting to me now.
Why
Did you
am I
hear what
getting-
the gentleman said before? We're tabling it so that they can work out so he doesn't have a water problem in his yard. Did you hear that?
Okay, what's gonna happen downstream? You gonna go there too? You fix it up here, what's gonna happen downstream? You're gonna have to fix it all the way to the lake, because that unnamed creek probably makes it there. That seems like a huge issue.
Do you have any other comments?
I've got lots of comments.
Apparently you don't want to hear
Do
that.
you wanna hear them?
Well, if
don't
they're
care.
legitimate, if you're just there to bitch, I don't wanna hear them.
No, I'm not here to bitch. I'm here to say that what I'm saying is the proposed plan does not fit what you guys have stated. This is not contingent or congruent with what the neighborhood is. This is something completely different. Completely. Like I said, I don't have 9 houses in my driveway. Neither do the other 18 neighbors that are around there. We enjoy the free space. Our kids have played there, that's opinion, and that can change subject to change. This is why we're here, wasting our night, trying just to watch out for our own properties that we purchased as our futures. For you guys to just say, they can do whatever they want to do.
You never
I don't
said
think
that.
that's fair.
You never said that.
I don't think it's fair. You said that's when you buy the land. Please, you said that twice.
Protect the land, you have to buy it to protect it if you wanna save it.
We did buy the land.
You didn't buy that piece.
No, we didn't buy that piece. That wasn't obtainable because we tried.
Okay. Anyone else wishing to comment?
I don't care.
You want to go ahead?
I do.
Go ahead, Deb.
And I didn't come for this meeting, but I want to come because it's appalling what Deputy's saying, 841 Hard Road. My grandfather built 941 Klem Road. I've been neighbors, I've lived in the same quadrant my entire life. You people don't get it. You just don't get it. It's changed, and if people own the property, they can do whatever they want with it. If you want a Forever Wild, then you buy Forever Wild. If you don't want change, then you've got to move. Because that's the right of everyone that owns a piece of property in this town. So, think about working with who the developer is to make it the best for everyone. Not just for you, not just for them, but work together. And the town board and the planning board and the zoning board will work with you. I've been up here 1,000,000 times over projects, right?
Yeah.
and they've always tried to work with us to make it the best for everyone. Is it a perfect thing every time? Absolutely not. But guess what? The woods that you play in, you don't own. Technically, you're all trespassing. in
Yes,
those
we
woods.
do.
You know they don't own those woods.
Yes, we do.
You own your woods, not their woods.
And he owns 4 other lots.
You don't own
We
their
bought
woods.
those woods.
All right, hold
You
on.
don't
Hey,
own
hey, hold
their
on. We're not gonna
woods.
put this up. Hold it.
So
Go
I
ahead.
just want to say that, you know, you people need to, maybe you should work on the master plan sometime, maybe you should be on a town committee and know the workings of government and know that we have rights in this town and they enforce the rights of everyone's property.
Thank you very much.
Not bullshit.
It's in here, though. She just said it's here to fight people. If you own the land and you meet the requirements to develop it, you develop it. When people say, oh, we play on that property, our kids are there, we horseback ride there, we ride our motorcycle there, you're trespassing.
No.
It's not the people's, no, you think you own the property. I don't want
No, you don't want to go over it with
to.
me.
All right, anybody else?
I stay on my yard.
Anyone else wish to comment? I can see you.
Waste of fucking time.
Yes, I do have one question for you, Tony. Is that- and I know this has been before the board a few times and concepts and so forth.
My name is Patrick.
Can you hold on a second, please?
We're not gonna change anybody's
I'd
mind,
like to
so
see the answer before you.
that's not mine.
Just hold on a minute. Go
Can
ahead.
I see the sketch for this site developed under existing zoning?
Go ahead.
Thank you.
This was the development. How many parcels do you have in this one? 9. You have 9. So what I see here is something that I don't think is compliant with the town code. That's even being proposed. And it was even called out on a previous application. Is that in order to develop something under cluster development, you have to subtract those areas that are non-developed. You create the number you have, subtract the area that's non-developed. This cluster development that we have in here, I have not seen anything that satisfies that. And I haven't seen any comment from engineering saying that that analysis has been done and shown that the developable area took into consideration those portions that are not developed. And it sounds like there's a large area that's not developable because of the flooding that's in the existing area, the potential for wetlands. We haven't heard anything about where the wetland delineation has been done, where those areas have been identified. Because that all needs to get subtracted from the land area by the town code to determine the number of houses that could go in this development. None of that has been done, or if it hasn't been done, it has not been shared with the town. If it's something the engineering has in-house and they're holding it themselves, then they have to share it with us. If it is not there, then we can't even be considering this cluster development.
Then why don't
It has to start from ground zero, go back, resubmit it on something that meets the town code for cluster development.
Yeah. All right, then, yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Anderson would be very happy to do that. I'm not the town engineer and I'm not the engineer to hire to do this, but we have gone through application, we have gone through engineering, we have gone through 3 PRC meetings with all associated parties, engineering, sewer, water. We've answered questions that were on the PRC comments for this. So we've gone through and been directed to do exactly what we did. We left the PRC meeting this Wednesday. A number of comments, addressed them all. There was 7 new comments that came out of that meeting.
Okay, so this is a public hearing. Concerns have been brought up about this development. I'm looking at this thing, I'm looking back to the original concept of this thing, and I'm not hearing our engineering department saying that anything has ever been developed to establish the proper number of houses on this development in accordance with the town code.
The
That's it.
original concept met town code.
Does it subtract the areas that are not developable and determine the area you can do it?
Anything's developable, you just gotta drain it.
Okay, so it does not.
You can.
When you read through the town code, there's very specific things about that. And I'm not hearing that that was done. So at this point, I would say that this development, in my opinion, doesn't meet what the code says. We've run into this numerous times with cluster developments, where they never really show the actual basis on how they came up with the numbers. And it's never really been something that we get, sorry, for the engineering department, we don't get solid comments from engineering saying, we have looked at this development, and we admitted that we agree with the applicant saying that they have done the calculations properly to come up with a number of things. In reality, we never get that, ever. When engineering reports come in, they are not shared with this planning board. The one time they were, I read through it, I gave comment, and I was criticized by it for making comment on the engineering reports. We, as a board, never get to see any of that information. A dissemination of it is not passed on.
Yeah, there's always copying.
We do not get copies of the engineering reports, ever. For the entire time I've been on this board, we have gotten the engineering reports maybe
They're always
twice.
available in my office to come in and look at. I guess I wouldn't know.
Okay, so for this project, to complete it, I would like to get direct comments from the engineering department that's saying that the thing has been developed in accordance with the town code. That's all we need to talk about tonight. And I also want to find out that, I don't care that the upstream culvert is bigger, okay? I want to find out that this culvert that's going under Hard Road has the true capacity to carry the flow that is going into this area. It's a cumulative impact that we have to take into consideration. You know that very well. If this thing can't pass the flow right now, and it is flooding the land, and you're creating a development that just has a small little pond, it's only mitigating the portion on that one little parcel, that does not have any, it's not gonna solve any issues in the areas. If anything, with the way the thing's graded, as rightly pointed out, by raising the ground 3 feet, this site is gonna be completely obliterated with trees. I mean, it's nice you present, we're gonna present the trees. This thing is gonna be leveled, and it's gonna be brought up 3 feet above ground and put in the swales along the side. That's the nature of the construction, that's what's gonna happen.
Can I clarify that it's 3 feet only where the houses are? There'll be drop of 3 feet
Right, we
with
have to
open
grade away
window
from the houses and put it
in the back.
Everything gets obliterated.
No, actually between the house and area we want to protect in the back, there'll be selective clearing. Rudy wants to save as many trees in that area as possible. So, with the respect,
As the intent of it, that's nice, but right now, I don't see it developing as compliant with the code.
You gotta remember the purpose of this meeting, it is a public hearing, and I think this is critical to get people's input. And I think that's what makes the system work. Now that we're aware of some water issues, we go back to the engineers and have them do this. This is not a done and void, that's the purpose of a public hearing. We appreciate that this many people came and cared, that's a good thing. Don't think that it's to whitewash it and get it approved. Obviously, we're talking some effort still needs to be put into this project. And that is the purpose of tonight. So I don't want anybody to get up and leave, and I don't want neighbors hating each other. But speak your mind, that's good. I'm on page 10 of my notes. This is stuff that I needed to go back now and value. And I'm a professional engineer for this town. It's my responsibility to make sure things are done right. I care about this town. My kids went to school here. I work here. I'm not letting bad stuff get built. That's my. These people are volunteers with unique skills between them all, and they all have valid points. But
Yeah, I think we're all on the same page.
I just think this has gone a little sideways.
Yeah, let's do
And
this.
I just like to hear the comments.
let's do this. We've got comments. It's all been taped. We've got all the comments people made and stuff. Derek, you got some legitimate issues there.
Absolutely.
As far as drainage and stuff. Why don't we do this? Let's table it, make a motion to table it. I'm gonna make a motion to table it until we have more input from engineering regarding both drainage off the site and the feasibility of it being a cluster development.
Fine, but I need a date.
What's that?
That's fine, but I need a date.
Oh,
We can go however long you think you can adjourn it.
it's gonna take more than next week before you get that. You have to be in April.
The first meeting in April.
First meeting in April, a month.
What's the date?
What's the
I
date?
don't know what the date is on it.
Second, Saturday.
April 7th.
April 7th?
No, that's a good day.
Yeah, it's your
April
birthday.
7th.
Good day.
Okay, that's a motion in a second.
Use that for that text.
All in favor?
That's what I was doing.